6:30 p.m. and make a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the custom area of a rich indigenous history and respect the indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. Any late items?
There are no late items.
Okay, the agenda approval, recommendation that the agenda of the January 12th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted as presented. Can I motion to bring that forward? Councillor Edwards, seconded. Councillor McLaren. Any questions for the upcoming meeting? All in favor? Carried. E1, recommended that the minutes of the December 8th, 2025 regular meeting be adopted as presented. Can I motion to bring that one? Councillor Huff, seconded. Councillor Comoy. Any questions on that one? Any dating changes? All in favor? Carried. No presentations. Business arising from the minutes. Unfinished business. F1. So I hope everybody thought about if they have any resolutions. Well, be honest with you, I don't have any. So, let's see what it says. The staff be directed to draw, make a video of resolutions and backgrounds for council's endorsements with the following 2026 regular meeting on the following topics. So we go around the table if anybody has any topics. Councillor Hutton. Councillor Canoisa.
Topics.
Councillor McLaren.
I'm the advocacy chair for APBLG, so I don't want to influence the discussion, so nothing.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Don't have it.
Okay, those are resounding.
Zero.
If you want to,
So can I get a motion to that there are no topics? Councillor Huff, seconded. Councillor Canoisa. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. We would be discussing. F2, recommendation that the application for Mike Hannigan be appointed to the Nakusp Accessibility Advisory Committee. Motion to bring that into the council. Full seconded. Councillor Edwards. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. So there's a recommendation for F3 for Broadway Street Kinsmanship and Mandy amended to the Fifth Avenue because old fire hall offers to purchase. There's a recommendation here. I'll bring it forward and need to change it. We can amend it. Recommendation that the administration be directed to send a letter to the Old Fire Hall Collective and the Kinship Connection Society requesting each organization to submit their proposal to purchase the respective building and property to the village office by noon, February 18th, 2026, and that they present their proposal to council as a delegation during the February 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting. Can I have a motion to bring that forward? Councillor Huff, seconded. Councillor McLaren. Questions? Councillor Canoisa.
Through the mayor to staff, I'm just wondering if you could clarify what we're expecting to see in the proposals?
through the mayor, so my thought is you would want to know what the purchasing price for the property is going to be, or what they're offering as a purchasing price. Any conditions that they would like council to consider, and also letting council know when the when they propose they can close the transaction of the sale.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. G. Recommendations, the monthly council reports we received for information. Have a motion to bring those forward. Councillor McLaren, seconded. Councillor Canoisa. So on the table, Councillor Huff, do you have any?
Nothing to report.
Councillor Canoisa,
Thank you. No, not during this season.
can I just skip you? Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything.
Thank you, Councilor Pinico.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, I haven't reviewed my report since I wrote it a little while ago, so I'm just happy to let it stand. I mean, there might be, if people have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them, but it was a pretty quiet month.
Any questions for the councilor Pinico on this report? None. Mine, pretty quiet too. What are we gonna do? NAC4 board meeting, number 15, discussion of financial reports. There'll be more coming, and the proposed boundary changes to the community forest agreement K2S has been approved. The K2S is the licensing, and so it helps it expand the boundaries and gives them more volume, but they still have to stay within the cutting permit of cutting of 20,000 cubic meters per hectare, but it gives them, they did lose caribou area, caribou habitat area, and old growth area. So this was a way to help bring that into more volume. So I thought that was a good one. End of the BC Rural Health Network AGM committee meeting. And this one, saw it come up and seen it passed around a bit. So I think everybody's had a chance to see this. I just got it the other day from it, and connecting the basin. So this is the updated announcement, connect the basin project expansion, expanding phase 2, connectivity for people in the Kootenays. So this announcement is of the Connect Basin project expansion now has been made by the province, and the news release is live at this link. So back in, when did we start this? This was in, started in January 2020 with initial design and permitting. So this was the backbone from Claymore Junction all the way up the valley. And that was just the backbone, and it ended up right here at our ESP station. And now the provincial government and Columbia Basin Trust have partnered and are willing to put funding into homes in Nakusp and all the other communities up the valley, but only certain areas in blue. If you look at the map, you'll see Nakusp. So again, but there has to be an internet service provider to take this on. So Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation isn't going to do it, but they would bids out to. So what they'll do, they would take the line and take it to the inside that blue area. I think there's about 617 homes, they said, in that mapping area. They would take it to the perimeter of the border or property lines, and then an internet service provider would have to be involved to do it. So, which, it doesn't, those places outside, if you look at that area, it just encompasses the sort of essential area. It doesn't go to the north, it doesn't go up the south, it doesn't go to the north, west, east. So, it's just a certain area they'll do. So we also have TELUS involved too. So, in a way it's sort of good because it could be good internet or good competition, I think. So, and I know way back in the day, for optics, I think it was, who was it? Columbia Wireless. They came to council and did a presentation, and they said they were approved to be an internet service provider. So maybe they're interested in taking this in. I'm not sure where this is going to go. I don't think we'll see anything till the new phase 2 last mile part, the installation upgrades to existing infrastructures, bridges, connectivity, access to high-speed fiber to the home infrastructure to communities that have long faced connectivity challenges. And so the project has an overall scheduled completion date of March 2027. So the CVBC began the process in January 2020. And if you go down, you see everything in red. That's still the phase 1 to the other community. That's still, they have to do a lot of those, especially down to Rural Park. They haven't even gone there yet. So So, and if you blow that picture up, we can't right now, but inside New Denver and Silverton, Spokane, they have pockets that they're doing. So basically 2,600 homes, I think there was. That we had to do. So anyway, we'll see where it goes. I think doesn't hurt. Be good speak. Good night. I think it's good to have competition. So any questions? Go ahead.
Mayor, just confirming this has nothing to do with Telus' upgrade. Or is this part of it, or?
I asked that, but
Yeah.
no, I didn't ask that. So I probably go ahead, Councilor, but I should see.
It doesn't.
Okay,
It's completely separate.
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It was just the way it worked out.
Anytime.
Any other questions on that? So I think it's a positive, especially for people who work from home. And businesses, oh, that was the other bad thing, it doesn't support businesses, you're on your own man to get it. They
Oh,
won't
really?
Bring it to your line, property line. Just residential. Anyway, it's just something, any other questions? All in favor? Carry. Bylaws, I1, reserve funds. Recommendation that the reserve funds establishment amending bylaw number 757/2025 be adopted. On motion to bring that one forward, Councilor McGranville, seconded, Councilor Edwards. Questions on the reserve funds? So yeah, so the first three readings were given in the December 8th, 2025 council meeting. So any further questions? All in favor? Okay. Your business, oh, that is tonight too. Yeah. Fees and charges, recommendation that fees and charges amending bylaw number 758/2026 be given first, second, and third readings as presented. Can I have a motion to bring those forward? Councilor Huff, seconded, Councilor McLaren. Questions? Councilor Canoison?
I did talk to the CIO this morning, but I'm just wondering when we're looking, not for tonight, but for future reference, when we're looking at change of fees or charges or budgets, if we could have a comparison chart, a comparative chart that shows us what maybe 2025 was in comparison to what we're now looking at. Because for me, when I'm trying to understand what the difference will be, I have to go between multiple documents and go back and forth because or print out the whole report to be able to do that. So I'm just wondering through the mayor to staff if that would be possible for future, or how difficult that would be, how time consuming it would be, maybe to the financial officer.
They communicate to the CMO or CFO?
Yeah, we could put it in the actual report itself.
I mean, I obviously don't want to add hours of work to your schedule because it's much more than to do. It's just, if it's not hard to do, it would be nice to see the comparison.
Yeah, it's not ours. It's the biggest issue we have is the iCompass doesn't like tables too much.
I see.
But we can do it, yeah.
Thank you. I would appreciate it.
Okay. Any further questions?
Sorry,
Go ahead, Councilor.
just 1 second, please. I just gotta see if my notes are. Through the mayor, the staff, correct me if I'm wrong, please. From the conversation I was having this morning, I think this is the right spot, but I didn't see a budget for the renovations to the kitchen that we discussed.
Oh, I
Is
think
this the right spot for that? No, oh, sorry, I'm not there yet. Okay. Thanks.
Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Articles left. Facilities. Recommendations that policy C016 articles left at the village facilities be approved as presented. Can I have a motion to bring that one forward? Councilor Nakusp, seconded. Councilor Evans. Questions? All in favor? Carried. J2. Staff purchasing, recommendation for staff purchasing policy C017 be approved as presented. Have a motion to bring that one forward. Councillor Huff, seconded. Councillor Cole. And questions? All in favor? Here. J3, attendance at other time functions, C018. Recommendations that policy C018, attendance at other time functions be approved as presented. Have a motion. Councillor Edwards, seconded. Councillor Knoisen. Questions? Councillor Knoisen.
Just one, and maybe it's moot, but in one section it says at least 2 members of council and the RBCK director along with the CAO, or if the CAO doesn't attend, 3 members of council may attend regarding the UBCM. Sorry, UBCM, give me the word, what's the word? Oh, thank you, conference. Every year this comes forward and we're looking at it and it sounds like, and we often don't follow exactly this, and maybe the wording can be slightly adjusted because it says at least 2 members of council and the ICK director. So if the second sentence, or if the CAO doesn't attend, 3 members of council may attend, but we're always sending more than that. So maybe just a slight adjustment to the wording on that. And mayor to staff, or to staff, to council in general, if opinions, thoughts. I feel like we're breaking policy, although it's kind of in there in the first sentence, but not in the second. To me, it sounds like if you don't attend, if you're sending more than 3, we're breaking that policy, but maybe I'm wrong.
It does say at least 2 members. So
At the top part, yeah.
it's not saying,
So maybe not,
mm,
maybe it's
I'm not
important.
very comfortable with the way it is.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Regional capital budget. Okay, so to the CAO, to the CFO will do a presentation on here or just, no.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I've got the PowerPoint presentation prepared. There's not really any additional detail, but I think it'll give a good chance for council to stop staff and ask any questions about any specific projects.
Yeah.
And we can discuss them.
So that the recommendation that the 2026 provisional capital budget, I say approved because this, there may be some adjustments.
You can always do amendments.
Okay. Recommendation that the 2026 provision will be approved. And most bring that one forward. Councilor Edwards, seconded. Councilor Cole. Okay, this is.
Yeah, so briefly, sorry. So briefly, I'll just go over what a capital item is. It's defining our capital asset policy as thresholds for buildings, roads, water system, wastewater system, and drainage system as $10,000. So that's the minimum for a project to be capitalized. For furniture, equipment, technology, or motor vehicles, that threshold is $2,500. Tangible. And book capital asset is a non-financial asset that has physical substance used on a continual basis They have useful economic lives beyond 1 year and are not for resale. To events. Examples are land, buildings, equipment, roads, water, could be sewer, bridges, stormwater, computer systems, and furniture. Um, Reasons for capital spending. So we look at categorizing them into about four different categories. So operational improvements are a reason, asset replacements, safety items, and regulatory requirements. And so jumping right into the fire department, under asset replacement, we have the ESB snow stops and roof repair, which is carryover, and the ESB gutter replacement, which is a carryover project. So both these items were late items at last year, and we ended up not starting them. Any questions on those at all before moving on? Yeah. And the safety item for fire is the ESB entryway roof, which is carried over from about 2020. Again, hasn't been started, still looking to try and get a contractor to actually take that on. So our total fire budget is 48,000 and funding is from surplus and CWF gas tax reserve. You notice that they're all ESB stuff, but we don't have any money in that reserve yet, so that's why the funding is from surplus and gas tax.
Yeah, so with the ESB, just so the council's aware, those projects will be assigned to the new fire chief when they're hired. So that'll be their projects to take care of at that time. And just again, with the entranceway, we put out multiple requests for proposals on that project, and we haven't had anybody come in anywhere close to being at our budget that we have set for it.
Public works, asset replacement projects. We have sidewalk replacements, which is a carryover from last year. Health pre-condition assessments, which is a carryover from last year. And I believe that one has actually just started. Is that correct, Calvin? Yeah. And then we have more road resurfacing for this year, and then stormwater projects, which include some ditch and culvert rehabilitation and just general improvements at some of the most problem areas in town. I think the beach is one, kind of the main one there. There's another one on 9 South. You won't jump in my name. It's going crazy. Operational improvements. So we have 4th Ave, the drainage that's carryover from last year, and the sand shed, which is another carryover from last year. Again, that's just an upfront cost that will hopefully reduce ongoing operating costs, because currently we have to purchase all of our sand and gravel from YRB for the roads. Regulatory requirements, the airport fencing, that's a carryover. We did not get the grant for that last year from the BC Air Access Program, and we just applied for it again. So the hope is that we'll get the funding for that to move forward this year. So total public works is just under 800,000, and funding is 57,000 funding. Grant funding is for the fencing that we just discussed, and the rest is all from reserves and surplus. Equipment, so asset replacement, we have a dump truck, which is a carryover from last year. Dump truck it's replacing is about 14, 15 years old now. So it's actually a few years past its life expectancy, but it's still working. And then looking at replacing the Parks Kubota with a factor in attachments that will, along with being an asset replacement, it will improve efficiencies for the parks. so total equipment expenses is 420,000 and all funding for that is from the equipment reserve.
And I,
Yeah. And
question. So I know this came up last year, dump truck, $350,000, single axle. Maybe it's got air brakes, I'm not sure. Automatic. So again, I'm struggling with $250,000. I did go and just played with it myself. The top of the line 2026 Kenworth, everything, the bells and whistles came up to just under $190,000. And with a truck similar like Isaac drives around with, brand new, dual axle, air brakes, 18 speed, top of the line, $312,000. So what I would like to do, 350,000, I have a hard time with it. So is there something that I'm missing there? Or is there something we can make an amendment to say, says 350 to 250? So question, am I missing something here? Just have a hard time with it because I do buy a lot of equipment myself and I'm just curious how that came to be, if I could ask that question. Is there a plow truck that goes with it, implements? I'm not sure.
as a belly plow, maybe Kevin can cover that, sorry, that price is actually based off of a big quote from 2024. But Kevin has more to add.
Certainly, when we're looking at the budget, it's different than what we hope to spend. So if we can find it, like what'll happen with the procurement process is it'll go out as an RFP and we'll get bids from multiple equipment suppliers. And unless they're colluding, which is unlikely because it's illegal amongst other things, we'll get a diversity of quotes for the specifications that we put out. And we'll go with the most value for the village based on those quotes. So it's not guaranteed to spend 350,000. However, because we received a budgetary quote for about that amount, the budget number was set so that in the event that the market comes back and says, this is the price for what you want, we don't need to come back to council for a budget amendment at that point.
I'm wondering if you could maybe explain to council the difference between a, like a traditional dump truck, for example, that the mayor's talking about compared to what it is. So I'm thinking we might be trying to compare apples with oranges.
It could be, to do more detailed comparison, I'd have to see what you were asking for pricing on, but I can tell you the options that we're looking at for the quote that we did get. So we're looking at having a 12.5 foot steel dump box. And it's got yada yada for it, but that's your basic dump truck box. And that would come with an 11-inch Henderson stainless steel slide-in sander. So sanders tend to be relatively expensive. Just for example, the small one for the hot springs a couple of years ago was about 18 grand, if I remember right, in that ballpark anyways. So the ones that are kitted out for the larger trucks are more expensive. I don't have the exact price for that in this quote, but it's included there. And of course, the sander also includes a bunch of safety things like the lights on the back, a bunch of sensors inside of it, and other things to help out with more of a smart sand these days. So it's not just to set it and forget it. They often vary the speed of the sander depending on the speed of the truck and things like that. There was also a front plow option included in that quote, as well as a mid plow option. In order to power all of these things, generally speaking, there's a beefier hydraulic system that goes with the truck.
Okay, so that, that helped because when it just says a dump truck, that's what I was trying to get at. Is there implements, is there other things added to it? So, go ahead, Councilor.
So sorry, yeah, and knowing that, that's great. I'm just wondering, it's like somebody giving me a budget of $350,000, I'm gonna maximize that spend. So to bring that budget, then I would say it kind of forces us to be a little bit more diligent with what we purchased, I guess. that makes sense. I do know, again, that price is based on 2024, correct? Yeah, so I mean, prices have come down for sure. So are you putting out RPA?
An RP, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But, so when you say the budget 350 with all these implements, we can't use any of the items that you could take off the other truck and put it into this new one? The sandbox and different things.
I mean, of course, we could, the sanders tend to wear out first, like they're pretty used and abused, so then they're actually on a separate replacement schedule than the trucks, because you can't do them separately. In this case, we're doing it all at once, just because it's, they're both due for replacement. But it is an option to do it separately, or for example, to just do a sander without the truck, if it's an appetite for that. Or to look at limping one of the older trucks along for another few years, also an option there.
Council could, like, could absolutely drop the budget to 250. And we could put our procurement and ask for what we need to ask for, and if it came back at, say, under 250, we would go ahead, but if it came up like 300, we would just come back to council and say, look, we tried, but this is our lowest cost. Do you want us to still go ahead with this? And you could say yes or no at that point. And that's an option.
Councilor Clarnfield?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple of points on this. I think staff's explanation made a lot of sense. But I also, I mean, I don't buy dump trucks in my day job, but cheaper tools aren't better tools necessarily. So if we're gonna make if we're gonna drop the budget, I'd like to see a justification for why, with numbers attached to it. Yeah, and I have another question on the sand shed, if I may. Through the mayor, just what the payback period is on this 250,000 for the sand shed.
I don't know.
That one is really hard to quantify, because essentially you're offsetting wear and tear. So it's one of those things that's hard to track. It's not. We don't know how many years of the equipment it'll save, but we do know that taking care of your equipment by putting it under shelter and giving it good quality aggregate helps. Right,
Yep.
so the closest thing we could probably get is tracking the number of times staff jumped in the back of the sander to push the bridging down into the auger, which we could do. We're not doing that right now, but there's other issues with staff jumping in the back of the sander that I'd like to avoid.
Thanks.
Noison?
I think it's a good question that the mayor posed, comparatively looking at the numbers, but I think it's a waste of time to change the budget lower and then have them have to come back to council. So I think trusting staff to, if they can get it cheaper, we'll get it cheaper. And then if not, saving the time of coming back for us to do the same thing again and say, yeah, we'll increase the budget. So I think.
Just to respond to that, so our budget is public knowledge. So that goes for our vendors. So if you decrease that value, so now they know what to play with, now it gives them a bit more or I guess less opportunity to inflate those costs. Because typically on any municipal tender, costs are significantly inflated.
That's right. It's a good point that raised by Councillor Huff. I'm just curious about. Again, I wonder, I mean, like I said before, I don't buy dump trucks in my day job, but I do buy tools in my day job, and buying better, more expensive tools has been a better choice for me. So I don't think the basement barrel discount equipment is necessarily the best choice, but my question through staff is, and that's why I said earlier, like if we're gonna restrict staff to have a smaller amount of money to play with, we might ultimately be costing the village more down the road. So that's why I'd say if we want to recommend that, I would like to see some rationale for why that's a better choice in the long term, right? And then my question through the mayor's staff is, how often, I mean, you said there's no collusion, or it's unlikely that there's collusion. How often is that like Councillor Huff says, these numbers are public. How often do vendors game the system and overcharge us? Or are there enough options in the marketplace that we can get a fair marketplace?
I can't say for an item like a dump truck, but it does happen on other projects, and we've noticed that that's happened where we put out a specific budget for like a consulting fee, for example, and absolutely the contractor takes a look at that and they bid that number or a little bit higher.
We also have a lot, kind of just to add to that, if we put out a project without a project budget, pretty much everyone will ask for it. And sometimes we want to get bids if we don't provide that to them, because they're looking to get the max dollar amount and then provide the max value is the way it's like the waterfront master plan. Everybody knew what the budget was, same with the parks. And that doesn't mean that, doesn't necessarily mean that they're gaming the system, but they're saying like, here's the maximum value that we can provide for your budget.
You get both types.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So just to respond, I think what you're suggesting is that if you put the budget lower, prices have gone down since 2024, and you might get the exact same thing for lower if they looked at our budget and said we can. That's a good point too.
Yeah, no, it was a question I had, and I was struggling with it. This is the top of the line. You can't get a better truck than a Kenworth 2026 T280, 190,000. So you put a sandbox into it, you're probably looking at another 50 to 70,000. So, and other things, you would be just under 300,000. I'm thinking that's just rough and dirty. So we amended it to like, you're going to get the top of the line truck. If you get a Kenworth or a white, I'm not sure, but Kenworth, Mack, Peterbilt. Vince, are you asking for a certain vehicle, truck, or it was whatever that?
Yeah, in this case for specifications, we don't use brands, because that would be giving a particular company an unfair advantage. So we'll set specific engine specifications and hydraulic system specifications and chassis specifications and box specifications, and it ends up being quite a detailed list. And then there's a number of truck builders, anyhow, they get the Freightliner or Mack or whatever, and then they build out the back for the application in BC and well, Alberta as well, but BC just because of the licensing, registration, and whatnot. And then they'll take those specifications and make it happen. So it's yeah, but definitely in terms of the quality control element, that's something we should take care of in the specifications. So while we can't say it must have this particular brand of engine, we can say, it must have a 20-year track record or it be serviceable in BC or things like that to make sure that we're getting what we need.
Good, thank you. I know our purchasing policy states you have to have 3 bids, anything over 50,000, I think. Is that correct? My
Yeah,
policy.
this would have to be an RFP, so we'd have to put it out for bid. For
And-
bids, yeah.
I tried to find the policy for buying new equipment.
There's no policy for buying new. I mean,
Wasn't that a policy at one time we had to buy new? Why do I think?
not a policy, but a lot of time in our procurement process, we'll ask for it. So
Okay, so if everybody's comfortable, we can amend it to 300,000, listening to Mason, or Councillor Huff's suggestion also. Amend it to for that item. if that's okay with council, I guess we'll need a motion to bring that one forward, to amend it to 300,000 from 350. A motion to bring that forward, Councillor Fenwiesen, seconded, Councillor Hub. Any further questions? Councillor McLaren?
In principle, I'm not opposed to the change. I'm just trying to understand are we getting a lesser quality?
I don't think so, because you're gonna get it, yeah, if they're gonna give you a truck, it's gonna be a very, very good one. I'm just looking at this, then what they put the implements in, you're looking at 190,000 for what he's asking for right now, brand new, spanking, everything, every detailing that they're asking for, top of the line. Then the sander, I can't see more and the other item, I can see everything under 300, top of the line, everything. Councillor Hub?
So on to Councillor Clerico, so dump trucks, which I'm familiar with purchasing dump trucks. It's not like your typical tool where you get a cheap tool and it breaks real fast. You get your warranties with new dump trucks. There is a lot of coverage. So there is no real cheap truck out there. You can get basic models and whatnot, but every dump truck these days is very good and has a decent warranty.
Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My feeling is, reducing the budget is more of a strategy to, for negotiation, and worst comes to worst, if it's more, then you just have to come back, and that does entail a bit more work, but if it saves them from jacking up the price, it might be worth it.
Councillor McLaren?
That's a very good point for everybody. My two questions are through the mayor to staff. Does staff feel that they're getting adequate support to provide the service that they need to provide with a reduced budget? And before you answer that, I take the point that this is an unusual item. This is an extraordinarily expensive kind of niche item, but for staff to have to come back for every line item that we want to nickel and dime on, I think is an ineffective way to do it. And respectfully, we hire them to do the job. So yes, we have oversight, but I appreciate their ability to make good decisions. But anyway, my question through staff is, will you be able to provide service with a lower budget?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I'm gonna write the exact same RFP and we'll see what comes back in for it.
Any further questions? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Carrying on.
I have a question
Oh, Councillor.
on the, tractor attachments. I'm just curious as to what all that entails, and would it be, as we spoke about, like the difficulty in snow removal with the unit that we have now, it's unable to handle sidewalks or anything like that. But will this be able to handle it? Would it be winter and summer and be able to handle what we can't do right now?
As with most of these, the answer is it depends, because we don't have the specific equipment lined up yet. It would be more capable than the current machinery for sidewalks is the intent. However, because we're not going with a specific to municipalities and equipment category, it's not designed for the standard price point to necessarily fit underneath awnings, which could be limiting in that it's able to do. Now, of course, we're going to look at options for that, but generally speaking, the agricultural or landscaping style tractor can be a little bit higher than the other ones. So, yes, in certain areas, but not necessarily in all areas in terms of the winter capability. In terms of the summer side of things, we'd be looking at being able to, without borrowing equipment, aerate fields and apply fertilizer, and have potentially a little bit larger mow deck for the sports fields.
Thank you.
I have a question. So the one that we're replacing, what was that, a Kubota? What is it you're replacing? And did it still have warranty on
About a lawnmower, they would have to check on the warranty. But it's been back 5 or 6 times under warranty. And
Expired now, it's 7 years.
yeah, and they haven't been able to fix the emissions control system on it. So it's limping along, but it's unreliable.
So that would be sold at a, or you would keep it.
It certainly, yeah, it'd be, it's disposed of per policy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry to review to Councilor Claire and Co's comment about allowing staff to do their job. So I agree with partially with your comment. But I just want to put it out there that it is all our due diligence to do and ensure that we, even if it's a savings of $50,000, what is that, like 1% on the tax increase? So even if it's 1% or, yeah, that's huge. So I think whether it be, call it nickel and diming, it does add up, but I just want to make everyone aware, like it does matter to me at least. So, but I do appreciate you are right. We don't want to handcuff them at all, but I do feel it is our due diligence to ensure we just do a check and balance. So, yeah.
And thank you, Councillor Hupp. And the other question was the sand shed. And if I'm correct, we're getting the material right now from YRB, right? And they don't have a sand shed,
Correct, yeah, it's an open pile.
open pile. And do they have the same trouble? Does it gum up on them also, or does they have different rigs? Or-
They have different equipment, yeah, so it doesn't cause them the same issues that it does for the village equipment.
Fair enough. For the arena operational improvements, we have the emergency reception center in the auditorium, which is carrying over. That is started in 2024, and it should be done this year. The company changed hands kind of mid-year, which slowed things down. And then we have miscellaneous sports center upgrades. Those are funded through the borrowing. They're just few smaller projects, including like a window and wake up projector. What else is in there? Oh, do any curl lights into that? Lunchroom upgrades, I think. Anyway. Safety item for the arena, we have the roof over the egress door by the ice plant. That's a carryover of the borrow funds as well. At the municipal campground.
Nice.
Yep.
I think that's where I meant, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, through the mayor to staff, that we made a decision to do some rentals in the kitchen so that we could bring it up to a better level for the community. And I don't see that in the arena parks before we move on to campground budget here.
Yeah, that one was, so we will add that into the final budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one is grant funded as well, so.
Right, so it's not coming out of.
It still needs to be in the budget, but yeah, it'll be funded through a grant, yeah.
Thank you.
Municipal campground, grass set replacement, we have the sanding station. Carryover project from a couple of years ago, I think all that's left is a pad that needs to be poured. And we have new projects, which include the campground sewer service upgrade and washroom building assessment. Operational improvements for the campground are the electrical upgrades that's carrying over from this year. I think it's scheduled to be done prior to the campground opening this spring. Then at the arena for asset replacements, we have the engineering repairs carryover project from this year, or from last year, sorry. And then for this year, we have a new project, which is upgrading finger floats. Gonna just repair as many as we can. For park center asset replacement, we have irrigation upgrades, which is a carryover from 2025, and wayfinding signage. They did get a number of signs installed this fall, and we'll continue that in the spring. This is supposed to gone. And for operational improvements at cemeteries, we have installing a new cemetery lane.
I have a question on the cemetery then.
Yeah.
Where would that, are you putting them down every, like, there's each area's got the Catholic Church, it's got the other areas. Are we putting a lane down each one of those? Or just one?
It's just the main access point. So if you can imagine the one you've seen chewed up a number of times, you've been to funerals there. So coming from the road and it's kind of 2/3 to the north. And then there's an L over to where they had previously stockpiled material, but that parcel was sold, but to the alley over in that area. So that's what we're looking at as the one that gets the most frequent use for all burials.
Councilor Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question in regards to the marina. So because we've essentially doubled our rental rates, and I want to make sure that everybody knows what they're gonna see for that. So we do have $70,000 in two different line items here that we're putting into the marina this year. And can we expand a little bit on like the engineering repairs? Will it be anything visible that people can see? Or can we just let them know that it's safer? And the fingers, that is, because several of them are like, kind of like that. Is that what we're working on fixing, or?
Yeah, so the finger floats, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. The main item for the repairs is the gangway, so the aluminum gangway. So looking at replacing that, and then after figure out how much that costs, we'll have a look. Most likely at bull rails as being the next one to target, but we'll see as we go what the budget is for that.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll just ask, so with the southern breakwater, now that's functional, is safe now to use, it's the one. Southern, yeah, that would be the one sticking out towards Saddleback that way. Help me open. That one's done, right? For now.
Not 100% done, but it's a lot of work has been done. We pump it out regularly, which is not unexpected. But we do have a meeting next week with BC Hydro to discuss an agreement over that piece of infrastructure and potentially long-term funding on it.
Thank you. Just for me, I mean, I know there's been a lot of work done and at a phenomenal rate, actually. And I don't think it's as visual as people don't see it, rather than like fixing the fingers and stuff like that. I just want people to know that there is work done and it's for safety. And you may not see it, but it has happened and it's made us a safer marina.
I could just add on that. That's a common issue in local governments. People don't understand. The real work is the work that you really quite often can't see. It's the infrastructure work. And where people do see the work, and sometimes unfortunately not the work that you really need. So, as an example, everybody notices when all the roads are cleared really quickly. However, people don't recognize that when people are spending a lot of time clearing roads to get it done quickly, regardless of the snowfall, that means that time's not being spent on fixing major infrastructure. And it gets left to degrade, and that ends up costing people in the long run.
Did you know that southern breakwater made a big difference? It was sinking. It was literally going down. So, that's one big lifesaver. So mainly you got to fix the outskirts first, all the breakwaters.
Yeah.
Then you work internally.
You can't fix it internally if it's just the next storm's just gonna break it. Yeah.
Okay. Very much.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, so total parks budget is just under 500,000. And we have 145,000 in grant funding, and that is mostly for the emergency reception center. And then a little bit in there for the wayfinding signage, the CBT. There's a little bit of borrowing for those two arena projects, and then the rest is all reserves of surplus. So water asset replacement projects, we have the water treatment plant UV disinfectant system replacements. stay from this year. That has just started in December here. And then we have new project, the PLC and SCADA replacement project. That is for basically all of our water infrastructure, so the reservoir, the wells, the treatment plant. Operational improvements, we have the mid-system flow meter, which is a carryover from a couple of years ago. Miscellaneous equipment, that's just a carryover from last year, ended up not spending any of that money. And the water intake improvements is a carryover from 2025 as well. So it says sewer total there, but it should be total. Water total is just under 400,000, 388, and funding is all from water reserves. And sewer for asset replacement projects, we have the lift station controls and the pipe inspection camera, the DAF plant UV replacement project, which are all carryovers. And then a new project for this year is the PLC and SCADA replacement. And that is at the treatment plant and maybe lift station. Yep, gas station. For operational improvement projects, we have the wastewater treatment plant optimization project, which we have to get finished this year. That is a good chunk of the way done. I want to say pretty much all procurement's been done. We're just waiting for a couple installs. So yeah, so that should get done this spring. The lift station backup pump is a carryover project from last year. The lift station will overflow. Phase 1 is carryover from last year. Miscellaneous equipment, DAF plant improvements carryover from last year. And then a new project is the wastewater system engineering. That one, okay, it's a bit of a good one.
Sure, the gist is that for the regulator, or regulators, I should say, but in this case, for the provincial regulator, in order to change the process, we need to re-register the process, which means that we need one or many engineers to do up the plan to their satisfaction, stamp it, send it in. And that all costs money, so that's the bulk of what that is, as well as looking at just continuing to support the bypass side of the project, which for that application again to the province requires engineering in order to make that happen.
Go ahead.
Sorry, through the mayor, thank you to staff. Can I guess that miscellaneous equipment is small pieces of equipment all adding up to approximately 25,000?
Yeah, it could be anywhere up. It's just based on our policy, you know, if there's a $5,000, $10,000 piece of equipment that we figure out what needs to be replaced in the middle of the year, rather than having to also specifically for that item, we're going to see there's going to be a couple of those a year. So that's just what the miscellaneous is. It's for items that fit under the capitalization threshold that need to be replaced. So it's not for stuff right now. And it is it's $25,000 carryover because nothing's actually needed to be replaced this year. So we didn't use any of it. Yeah, so we're not just looking to spend it just for random thing. It's just for just clarify one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. The money I was referencing for the wastewater engineering for the operations budget. This item here is for having a look at a bottleneck in the wastewater system and for getting some costing for the much larger capital project that will follow in order to fix that bottleneck.
Just in case you're unaware, when you get closer to the SO station, there's a severe bottleneck in our wastewater treatment movement of effluent. And so we need to make sure that we're able to size that appropriately to be able to handle what is coming through our sewage treatment, our lift station. That's a pretty big deal.
And that one will support more growth going forward too, so. Looking at the local government housing initiatives going. Received in the province, that needs to be spent within the next 3 years or so, that one, we have. Approximately 1.2 million. That can be used on infrastructure for future growth. And that's kind of where we plan on spending that once this engineering is done.
So just for everyone's reference, as it is right now, as Kevin's explained it to me, and jump in and correct me when I say it wrong. Basically, our lift station right now is ramped down to a very low power level, or effluent pushing level, lower than it's actually designed to do. If we were actually to ramp it up to the speed it needs to be, you would have sewage flowing out of that manhole. So it's critically important that that be fixed and built properly so that it can accommodate the existing effluent plus future effluent down the road.
So if I understand correctly, all the area inside the village all goes down to the Japanese garden area, to that
Good portion.
good portion of it. And everything from outside up Alexander Road, everything else comes down by the bypass, comes around, and everything meets there. And that's where the bottleneck is.
Yes.
Just before that point.
And it looks, yellow, everything yellow here tells us that it's good out in Alexander Road, so you're very lucky. And through the bypass, the red is pretty bad all inside the village. So, and actually, right at the ball field, we have another, just by the ball field there on 10th, I think there's another, is there another pump there that pumps there too?
Not anymore. So originally, when they installed the system, they were using smaller pumps. So they went from the Japanese garden up to that point and then pumped it again. And when they redid that in the early 2000s, late 90s, they just did a straight shot with a bigger pipe. Unfortunately, at that time, they didn't expand the gravity portion of the sewer main.
It's quite a pump that much.
In fact, it's three 6-inch pumps running 2 at a time. So
If it ever breaks down, we just open it up.
if it ever breaks down, we have next pump.
Thanks.
Yeah, carrying on, so it's 1.12 million. For the sewer budget, grant funding, that's entirely for the waste treatment plant optimization project. And then the rest is all funded through sewer reserves. For hot springs, asset replacement, we have 3 carryover projects, the heat pump in the main facility, that one's almost done. Signage, that one is more or less done inside the facility, but they're gonna do a few more signs outside, specifically for the new trail that we did this year or this last year. They're gonna put some signs up for that. And staff accommodations. New projects are upgrading the computers at the hot springs and their POS system. Sure, all probably about 8 years old now. So they're, as far as technology goes, they're ancient. We're gonna do floor drain and pipe replacement facility, engineering and design of new wastewater system. So the septic system there. Source pipe replacement engineering and some source pipe valve replacement. For operational improvements, there's the loading door carryover project. We're gonna purchase a commercial coffee machine for resale, coffee resale. We're gonna do the engineering for the, for a potential cold plunge pool on the deck.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You're gonna build a separate cold plunge area?
We're going to do the engineering for it, so that'll help us figure out where it could be placed and how it could be integrated into the system.
Sorry, I had a couple questions. A cold plunge pool would be awesome, by the way. I really like the one that house did. I just had a couple questions because there was some concern over some of the costs here. I just wanted to clarify, like the coffee machine, it's not just, it's a commercial espresso cappuccino, like a fancy coffee machine. Which, and I mean, I'm a bookkeeper, I've seen the cost of some of them and that's a reasonable price.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of lower end.
Yeah, that's a really reasonable price.
We did a business case analysis on, well, I did a business case analysis on a machine that was $14,000.
That's more like the price.
And we found that within a year, we would be able to, with the amount of coffee that we would need that we would project to sell, we would pay that off within a year and still probably turn a profit. So a $7,000 coffee machine, we're gonna pay for right
Yeah,
away. It actually works out to if we sold 10 coffees a day.
that's awesome. That'd be great to have up there. I
Yeah.
just had one other, in regards to the laundry, can we like expand a little bit on what, like, we've got a new laundry space and a commercial washer and dryer. Can we just expand on what we're getting for 40,000? Because it does sound like
Oh,
there
sure.
was some concern about $40,000 for a washer and dryer.
Well, people obviously have no idea what it costs to buy a commercial washer and
Right.
dryer. Those items are 20,000, anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a piece.
Mhm.
We're not talking about your home Maytag, washer and dryer. We've done that.
Mhm.
We've done that we've done that for the last 30 years, and we're replacing those machines on average every 2 years. These machines will last 15 to 20 years. They'll also handle 3 times the amount of laundry in one load. So you got savings in time, savings in energy, savings in the replacement of the machine. It just makes sense.
Mhm.
We should have never been operating the way we've been operating with just run-of-the-mill house wash and dryers. We have a couple that are sitting up there broken
Mhm.
because they've been broken for years. So then you have to dispose of them as well. So no, it makes sense to go to commercial.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not talking like coin operator or anything like that. We're talking about industrial machines.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Pool dolphin, gravel.
Bull dolphin is not. It's a mammal that you throw into the pool. Fresh water.
Dolphins too.
So no, pool dolphin is a automatic cleaning machine that goes around and cleans. So it'll cut down on staff labor having to clean the pool every day because we go in there. We have a staff member that takes anywhere up to an hour to an hour and a half to go through and vacuum the entire pool. So this way, when the facility's closed, the pool dolphin will go around. You can even clean the sides. And then staff will only have to do the touch-up areas and be able to work on other aspects of the operation.
I heard sometimes they escape.
They do. You're actually not wrong. They do. They have crawled out.
Sorry, you got a fence around.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Whatever.
We're gonna do some gravel and resurfacing work at the campground. And as mentioned earlier, commercial washer and dryer, and a new laundry space, and we're gonna install a loading dock up there. Hopefully start getting people to actually deliver. So there's a lot of projects, but the total budget for the Hot Springs is actually just 277,000, and it's all being funded through Hot Springs surplus. And then
There's no grants that we can, for any of that we can. And I know taking time to write grants sometimes costs more money than just using the surplus, but.
like we would apply for anything.
We have applied for a grant for the wastewater system engineering.
Yeah.
And so that's through the REDA program. So we're hoping to be able to access that money. Oh, and the heat pump, yeah, the
Yeah.
heat pump, there was grant money for this.
I do apply, so anywhere where we can apply for grants, we will. But we want to be able to proceed with these projects regardless of whether we get those grants. Which is why we're asking for it to be funded through surplus, and then as we can, we'll cut that back.
Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just, no problem with the list here. It's just a long list through the mayor's staff. Is there any concern about being able to achieve all those things in a year? With like, some without a manager?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it'll be split between Kevin and myself. You'll notice that quite a few of these are purchases. So the purchases are things that, you know, I should be able to do fairly quickly. But yeah, it's I'll be honest with you, the entire capital budget is very ambitious. The problem we're running into is there's so much to do that we feel we have to move forward on these projects.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then carrying on, this is just a source of all the fundings and our reserve balances where they were at the end of 2025. The reserve funds, those are all up to date. The general surplus and hot spring surplus are actually still working on year end for those, so they're not totally finalized. So there'll actually be more money available there than what is showing, because we did end up with surpluses in both the general fund and the hot springs. So yeah, just a list primarily funded through reserves. There's going to be 88,000 funded operating, and those are they were originally going to be budgeted transfers for the marina reserve and for the stormwater reserve this year. But we've identified that rather than wait another year for that funding to become available, we're gonna just transfer it directly from operating and capital and spend it this year. So those projects need to go ahead, especially the stormwater. Seems to be a growing concern around town. So our total grant funding is about 486,000. Total capital budget is 3.552 million.
Oh, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the staff, yes, I totally agree. Stormwater, thank you for addressing that in this budget. And my question through the staff is the NACPR Legacy Fund, does that include, are we holding any money for Area K?
Yeah, there is roughly 100,000 in that balance for Area K.
So supplemental, so 740 minus 50 is 690 minus 100. So essentially, if we spent all that money, we would still have close to 600,000. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's lots of money.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Chalets, didn't you have some work planned for those? I didn't see that.
It was done.
That carried over?
It's done.
It's not.
Finished. Yeah,
Is there a reserve for the chalets?
there is. Yeah,
Is it separate from the hot springs?
yeah, they each have their own reserve.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the campground and the hot springs were together, and the chalets were separate. Is that correct?
Yeah, the hot springs facility has its own reserve, and then the chalets has a separate reserve. Both reserves are pretty limited at the moment. We've been putting all of the extra money into surplus just to have the flexibility to spend it wherever it needs to go, rather than specifically chalets or hot springs. Yeah.
So if I heard you right, we have a chalet reserve, campground up there reserve, and
Chalet reserve, and then everything else reserve. So hot springs, which everywhere else on the grounds, and then we have the hot springs surplus, which can be used for anything of the operations included.
any other questions? All in favor? carried. Okay, thank you. My desk at home. Okay. We're on K1, right? Information items. Recommendation that items K1 to K11 be received for information. Have a motion to bring those forward. Councilor Edwards, seconded. Councilor Franco. We'll just go around the table. Councilor Huff, is there any items you wish to bring forward?
No.
Councilor Noisen.
I just wanted to ask about, a sec. No, I erased it. I must have had it answered.
Councilor Franco.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few. Start with the easy one. K11, the invitation to the community resilience workshop. Are we actually, as council, are we actually invited to that? I don't know. Because if I am not busy, I will like to attend. I just don't know. It's not addressed to us. As community members, then I don't know.
Council is invited, yes,
Yeah, thanks.
And where is that?
The last one, K11,
Oh, but where's it now?
here,
here probably.
Oh, in here.
yeah, January 21st, 6 PM to 8 PM.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I got a couple more. The regular RBCK board highlights are on there if anybody has questions. And then there's a letter from regional district about tipping fees and other fees going up. And there's one in particular, the mattresses and foundations, which are box springs. They're increasing the fee for that, which is a provincial application because they've in their extended producer responsibility plan for 21 to 26. They were going to include mattresses in the recycling plan, but they've taken it out. So we are now charging, the province has. So now the landfill is charging a fee to deal with large and bulky mattresses. And the last item is K5, which is the state of the basin snapshot report. I think I will apologize because I was hoping that the actual report would be included. I don't know, and not the email as an information item. I don't know if anybody actually had a chance to read this report, but I highly recommend that you do if you haven't. Most of what we do is based on anecdotal information, and it's very difficult. I'm sure most of us know it's very difficult to get proper data on our communities, and this is as good as it gets for what we have. And I just want to highlight a couple things in this report. Where did I have notes here? And it's done by Selkirk College, so it's done locally, which I very much appreciate. Some of the things are we are projected to have a growing population, but also an aging population. Our labor force replacement rate is projected to be 0.67, which means even though our population is growing, our labor force will be shrinking. And I could go on, but I'll save this for our conversation about economic development. But there are some other interesting tidbits in there, like 21% rise in homelessness across the region since 2019. Since 2023, forestry cut rates are down 29% across the region. And incidentally, I think this is not indicative of year over year because I went and dug into the year over year numbers. But the SD10, our school district's high school graduation rates were like the third worst in the province in 2024 at 69%. So anyway, it's a 20-page report. It's infographic, so it's not like 20 pages of text. It's worth a look. So that's it, thanks.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the last one for enclosed. the average age to rise from 45 to 48. So that includes me.
You're gonna be 48.
So, yeah, that's good. Good, really good information. I'll go to K9, grant application process for the Ready Grant. So just to let everybody know who's applying for the Ready Grant, it's open now to February. February 20th. So if everybody can get their grants in by then. And I believe for the village of Nakusp and, the Bayview, is where they lumped in with Bayview, Bayview Nakusp, and that which it goes up to Summit. I think there's 184,000 people quote me, but I think that's all there is to, that's probably what we had last year. Yeah. So. And we've already picked the date for the voting is April 12th. We've already booked the arena. We've reached out to the RGCK, told them the date. They have that, so we're just waiting for the RGCK rep, Area K. See which member she wishes to have on the sitting committee. Myself, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Carnico, and we have a few others. Will be sitting on the board, the committee. So just let you know, so everybody knows the date. That's it for me. Councillor Canozen.
Thank you. Sorry, I just recalled what, so K3, Canada Community Building Fund, $67,882 through the mayor and staff. Just wondering what budget that $67,000 goes into and where those funds can be spent.
That gets transferred straight to the CWF reserve. And those funds can be spent on a number of things. They can be spent on roads, sidewalks, water, wastewater, stormwater, fire halls, surrounding one. But generally what we've been spending on is our road and sidewalk projects. Just because we don't have a ton of money in that reserve, and it's very expensive to do those projects.
There was one thing that actually didn't make it into the information items, but I just wanted to mention that our very own Mayor Tom, his birthday is next Tuesday. Should be in the information items, but it's not, so happy early birthday. We won't see him before his birthday maybe, so. Good for him.
Okay,
It's gonna be 48.
get into that study. Yeah, any other questions? All in favor? Okay. Action items. Notice the motion. Questions from the press or public? I'll go to the online first. And anything that you wish to speak about has to be what we spoke about tonight. And please address who you are.
I'll just read out a written question to Manfred. As one from Beth McLeod. It's regarding the ESB entryway, which is budgeted at 20K. It's mentioned that bids have always come in over budget, so that's why the project's not happening. If it's a safety concern, then why not increase the budget or simplify the design and materials for it to fit that smaller budget?
I know that this has been ongoing since 2020. Are we going by a specific design, or are they coming up with their own? We have their own, but do we have the design?
Sure.
So there's no specific design right now outside of one roof structure, please, out in front of the door. However, there's a couple of constants in there for costing, and one of them is just the permitting process. So as a commercial building, regardless of kind of the perceived size of the project, we need to go through to get the building permit, and because it's part 3 in the building code, that has to be signed off on by a professional. So it has to be, in this case, it would be an architect, although sometimes it can be just an engineer. And then, of course, any work that's done needs to be done according to all the professional standards and whatnot, so. In order to then submit to the building department, we need the drawings, so it's kind of one of those permitting processes that ends up costing quite a bit of money for just the permit. And then the actual construction is not the larger portion of the cost, like you might see with a bigger building, where, you know, it's big on construction, smaller on the permitting. Here, it's gonna be quite a bit of permitting cost, but in terms of the actual design, that has not been settled yet.
Are we looking at wood or different style? Like timber frame?
In this case, it's still not settled on to the design. However, we should note that Nakusp is a wood first community.
So in the 20,000, it's the engineering and the permitting. And have we had quotes already?
Yeah, but we had quotes before Kevin's time. And they were that was around that was at the end of COVID, so contractors were going crazy, and let's just say people weren't very hungry, so they were pricing extremely high because they were gonna take whatever the most lucrative work it was. So we might be in a bit of a better situation now, where there's, you know, still contractors are busy, but there's probably a little less work to go around, so hopefully we'll be able to get a better price now.
We also, kind of just for clarity, when the bids came in over, we had a $10,000 budget for this project. And then we increased to 20 afterwards and haven't put it back out for bid yet. So we have done what she's asking, we just haven't got to the point of actually procuring.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I didn't move ahead last year was we did place this task on a staff member that's no longer with us. So it was something that they were working on, but it just didn't make it into their work plan before they left the village. There was a question from JD Ma, but he was just wanting to clarify that the dump truck went down to $300,000, and so we just answered yes.
With the attachments.
Yes.
Doesn't look like any other questions online.
And the gallery? No questions? All right, the questions. We'll hold the meeting to order and meeting and at 7:58.
And we adjourn.
Edwards. Thank you.